India wasn't always a free nation. She was once the jewel of empires, then the prize of invaders. And for nearly 200 years, she was trapped, bound not by chains, but by British law, guns, and greed. But how did the land of ancient wisdom, empires, and innovation turn into one of the most colonized nations in modern history, and then rise again to become a global powerhouse? This is the true story of modern India. Long before colonization, India was no stranger to greatness. The Indus Valley civilization, one of the oldest in the world, thrived here around 2500 BC, building planned cities, sewage systems, and trade networks, when much of the world was still in huts. Centuries later came the Mauryas, Guptas, the Delhi Sultanate, and the Mughals, empires that left behind breathtaking architecture, deep philosophy, and a rich, blended culture. India was a land of silk, spices, knowledge, and gold. But as Europe industrialized, they wanted more than just trade. They wanted control. Enter the British East India Company. At first, they came as merchants, then as manipulators, and finally, as rulers. By the mid-18th century, the British East India Company wasn't trading with India. They were ruling it. Through cunning treaties, brutal battles like the Battle of Plassey, 1757, and divide-and-rule politics, they took over vast territories. India became Britain's most prized colony, but it came at a heavy price. Millions died in famines while ships carried India's grain to England. Weavers had their thumbs cut off to destroy local textile industries. The Kohinoor diamond, countless artifacts, and India's wealth were shipped away. But even in silence, resistance simmered. The fight for freedom began with revolts. In 1857, Indian soldiers, sepoys, rose against the British. It failed, but it lit a spark. Then came thinkers, reformers, fighters, names like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Annie Besant. And soon, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, with a cloth in one hand and truth in the other. Gandhi led millions in nonviolent resistance. Salt marches, hunger strikes, civil disobedience. But not all believed in peace. Bhagat Singh chose the bullet. Subhas Chandra Bose raised an army. India wasn't just fighting back. She was awakening. And after decades of protest, pain, and partition, on August 15, 1947, India became free. But the cost was a bloody partition that killed nearly 1 million and created two nations, India and Pakistan. India was free but broken. India began her journey as a democracy with 340 million people and just 16% literacy. There were no major industries, no infrastructure, just dreams. But dreamers like Jawaharlal Nehru built dams and universities. Visionaries like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar gave the country its constitution, a progressive document ahead of its time. Despite wars, political chaos, and poverty, India stood her ground. By the 1990s, liberalization opened doors to foreign investment and tech. The IT boom turned cities like Bangalore into global hubs. And by the 2000s, India wasn't just rising, she was roaring. Today, India is the world's largest democracy, a nuclear power, a spacefaring nation that reached the moon's south pole, and one of the fastest growing economies on Earth. She leads in startups, exports, cinema, and soft power. But challenges remain. Inequality, political polarization, unemployment, and environmental strain. Still, the story of modern India is not just one of survival. It's one of resilience, reinvention, and rebirth. From the ashes of colonization, a nation of over 1 billion hearts beats louder than ever. Independence was not the end of the struggle. It was the beginning of a new one, the battle within. India now had to unite 565 princely states, heal wounds from the brutal partition, and feed millions in a country still bleeding. The 1960s brought war with China. Then came droughts, shortages, crisis. But even in darkness, the spirit didn't die. India tested her first nuclear bomb in 1974. Not to dominate, but to say, we're no longer weak. Then, the Green Revolution. With better seeds and smarter methods, India began feeding her own people again. And while the world doubted, India was quietly becoming self-reliant. One brick, one village, one voice at a time. The democracy is messy. The 1975 emergency, declared by Indira Gandhi, shocked the nation. A time when rights were suspended and press silenced. It was a wake-up call. People voted her out, then voted her back. Because in India, power truly lies with the people. The late 80s and early 90s were turbulent. Religious riots, the assassination of 2 prime ministers, and then economic collapse. India was nearly bankrupt, but crisis birthed transformation. In 1991, Finance Minister Manmohan Singh opened the economy. India entered the global market. Foreign companies came in, and Indians went out, building careers across the world. A middle class was born, and with it, a new India. By the 2000s, India wasn't just catching up, it was setting the pace. Infosys, TCS, and Wipro turned India into a software giant. Young engineers fueled Silicon Valley. The world began to speak to call centers Ingurgan, and Google searches were now powered by Indian brains. India's space agency, ISRO, stunned the world, launching 104 satellites in a single mission, and then reaching Mars on their first attempt, with less budget than a Hollywood movie. India wasn't just rising economically, it was owning the global stage. Bollywood became a cultural export. Yoga, once mocked, became a global wellness movement. And Indian cuisine, once exotic, now mainstream. But India's story is not all celebration. It's also contradiction. For every tech hub, there's a village still waiting for clean water. For every skyscraper, a slum shadows its base. For every freedom fighter's dream, there's still a girl denied education or a child forced to work. Caste discrimination, religious tensions, and political polarization, they haunt the progress. But here's the truth. India was never meant to be simple. It's not one language, not one religion, not one identity. It is a billion contradictions held together by one belief, that despite everything, we belong together. Today, India is young. Over 65% of its population is under 35. It sends rockets to the moon and still performs rituals by the river. It debates in 22 official languages and unites under one flag. It's loud, messy, complicated, but also resilient, creative, and unstoppable. From the ashes of colonial rule, from the heartbreak of partition, from the weight of poverty and pain, India has risen, not perfectly, but powerfully, and her greatest chapter is yet to be written. If you made it this far, you just walked through over 250 years of history in a few minutes. But history lives on in us, in every innovation, every protest, every dream. So, drop a Jai Hind in the comments if you're proud of how far India has come. Share this story with someone who's forgotten how powerful India's journey truly is. And subscribe for more stories at Textbooks Left Out. But history never forgot.